Do we really believe that everyone who is not trusted in Christ for salvation will experience damnation when they die? I'm standing right now in northern India, home to 600 million people. They estimate that about 0.5% of the people around me are evangelical Christian. 0.5% who have trusted in Christ for salvation. That means 597 million people surround me right now who don't have Christ. Many of them are Hindu, worshiping endless false gods. Many of them are Muslims. Some of them are Buddhists. I'm actually standing right now near the border of Nepal and Tibet at a Tibetan Buddhist training ground. There's a lot of talk right now about universalism, a lot of dialogue and debate and discussion. It all revolves around what happens to people who die without Christ. I hope that no one who knows me as either pastor or person would question or wonder where I stand on this issue. The crux of the Bible is clear and the story of redemption is sure. The just and gracious Creator of the universe has looked upon hopelessly sinful men and women in their rebellion, and He has sent His Son, God in the flesh, to bear His wrath against sin on the cross and to show His power over sin in the resurrection, so that everyone who believes in Him, who turns from themselves and trusts in Christ, will be reconciled to God forever. And likewise, the converse is true. Everyone who trusts in themselves and turns from God will be condemned by God forever. This is the gospel that was proclaimed by Jesus. This is the gospel that was proclaimed by Peter and Luke and Paul and John. This is the gospel that's been proclaimed by Christians for the last 2,000 years. And this is the gospel that's being declared and defended so well by so many over the last few weeks. But my question is, do we really believe what we're saying? These 597 million people, are all of them going to an eternal hell because they don't have Christ? And there's really only two simple options here. Either number one, we believe, a la Rob Bell, that all of these people will one day experience God's everlasting love in heaven. Or number two, we believe, a la Orthodox Christianity, that one day all of these people will experience God's eternal wrath in hell. And how we answer that question determines everything about how we live. The reality is, if we believe that everyone's going to be okay in the end, if we embrace universalism, however it is cloaked, then we're free to live our lives however we want, to sit back as easygoing Christians in comfortable churches, because in the end, all of these masses are going to be okay. They're going to be fine. However, if we believe that people around us, 597 million people in northern India, 6,000 plus people groups who have never even heard the gospel, if we believe that they are going to an eternal hell without Christ, then we don't have time to play games with our lives, and we don't have time to play games in the church. We have a mission that demands radical urgency. Here's the deal. Intellectual universalism is dangerous, thinking that in the end everyone is going to be okay. But functional universalism is worse, living like in the end everyone is going to be okay. So let's fight them both. In our heads and in our hearts, let's hold fast to the truth of this gospel. And in our lives, let's sacrifice everything we have, our possessions and our plans and our dreams, our safety, our security, if necessary, our own lives, to make this gospel known among all peoples. That is the only possible response for people who really believe this book.